Hello everyone and welcome back to SB Living, a place for slow, seasonal, and spiritual living where we focus on food, faith, and family in the everyday. We'll be getting into some of the regular routines that I go through on a daily and weekly basis and really trying to see the potential in just these very small things that can bring happiness to you. And I encourage you to do the same. Sometimes we look for joy and contentment and satisfaction in big experiences or big items, and you really don't need to do all of that. Really, anything that you find yourself doing on the regular is sufficient in order for you to feel happy, content, and satisfied. What I'm preparing right now is a simple fish stew. It is a tomato-based vegetable soup. I'll be adding some peppers, some celery, some garlic, anything that, again, I have in the fridge, as always. And then towards the end, I'll be popping in some chopped tilapia, which could be any other firm fish if you like. You often see this type of fish stew with shellfish or shrimp or cod. It could be anything, really. And it's just a way of making a very warm but also very flavorful soup that is also really unique. You don't really see this often in regular households, but in the Mediterranean, it is a very easy, quick, and delicious food that you can sop up with a piece of bread, or you could have by itself, or you can add in some noodles, or you can just have a little bit every day. And it's just that easy to make. I do like to add layers of flavors here. So yep, I added some of the wine. It cooked down a bit before adding some stock. I like to add some coriander, a little cumin, a little hot pepper, some turmeric here, which I like to add a little bit more than usual. I feel like whenever you use this golden spice, the more the merrier here. And then you just let it simmer, and before you know it, it'll be set to go. I really do like to buy my fish as fresh as possible, and these fillets of tilapia came from my latest Costco trip, and I got so many fillets. I actually froze half of it, and the same day using a few of these in the soup. And I do like to mimic the same flavor profile that's in the soup on the fish, and I do like to cut it up into chunks, not too small, enough that you could see it in the soup and doesn't disappear or crumble up. And then you just massage all the spices in. I'm a strong believer in being consistent, so what you have in the soup you should find in the fish, so it all comes together and the flavors balance each other out. Again, simple things, simple moments of joy and happiness. It really is about the things that are visceral in your life, that are really tangible, that really matter. And what better way of enjoying that than the food that's in front of you? If you've been following along for quite some time, you know that I enjoy not just the simplicity of the food, but also the significance of the food. You know, in both our cultural history and also our biblical history, food has a significance. It carries weight, and it connects you to not just the people around you now, but also those that came before us. And a soup like this can be found in a lot of the cuisines that many of our saints that came before us have enjoyed themselves, and it's just a way of connecting to that moment in time, to that person that we can aspire to be, so that we can each be our own saints in today's world. So a lot of the rhythms at home, do seem like a lot of work. There's actually this word that I grew up with that I kept hearing whenever someone referred to work, and it was always fatica. And in an Italian dialect, it means just fatigue, just hard work that causes so much stress. And men would refer to their work outside the home as vai a fatigare, or the women would refer to their work in the home as fatigar. But, it really is your perception, and again, seeing the potential in these very small things that actually bring happiness. So when you do look at your household and you do look at your routines at home, are they bringing you joy or are they bringing you stress, the fatiga, the fatigue? Because it's again about your perception. A lot of these things you have to do anyway. And it's like advice I give to people at school or my students, if life is constantly going to be a source of stress, you're never going to have the ability to enjoy it. So forget about the fatiga part and learn to embrace these rhythms that help sustain you. Be glad that you're able to cook, that you're able to do your laundry, that you're able to clean your house, and that you have all these things to do to sustain you. It really is a beautiful thing, and it can bring more joy than you expect. So as I wrap up this lemon balm, let me tell you what you're seeing right now. This is the last final harvest of the herbs of the season. It's weirdly hot at this moment in time at this filming. It's supposed to be fall, and I think on this day it was around 85 degrees. But I knew it was only going to be fleeting, so I dug up all of the herbs and cut them down. So the lemon balm, the last remaining of it, will be strung up in the house to dry, and so will a lot of these sage leaves. I use sage a lot in chicken dishes, which I make so much of, but also a beautiful tea, which I'll show you in a few. I also will be putting together the last of the oregano that comes back every year, and so do all of these herbs. I do like perennial herbs. They're very low maintenance. They do kind of get wild if you just let them grow, which sometimes, hey, that's okay. And it's just a matter of taking the time to pick them apart, get a few bundles together, tie it in some twine, and if you do have a space at home, you can just hang them. I do like to give them a nice dunk and a nice wash outside, let them dry a little bit, and then once they're inside the house, they're there for the winter, and it's a beautiful item of decor. It's great to just go and snag a few branches when you're cooking something, and they do make delicious teas. So if you're interested in making some fresh tea herbs, the biggest tip I can give you is time. You just need to let the herbs steep. See, the thing about dried herbs is that a lot of the moisture has been taken out of the herbs at that point, and so the flavor infuses a lot quicker. But fresh tea leaves or fresh herbal leaves that you see here, like the sage, it does take time for it to diffuse into the water. So hot water with a ton of leaves, you do need that higher ratio between the leaf and the water, and you just let it steep for a while. It'll get slightly colored, and sage tea is probably up there with chamomile, if not better sometimes. It really does bring down your stress level. It's beautiful for your stomach. It is great for migraines, and the longer it sits, the better it is. So with many of these recipes that I do show you, not only do they have a very strong cultural significance, or some of them are actual dishes you'll find in some saintly cookbooks, but a lot of them are just straight up seasonal dishes, like this pumpkin and apple and cranberry maple roast. And again, look at the ingredients: pumpkin, apple, maple, cranberry, roasted sheet pan. You can't get any more fall than that. And when you buy these pumpkins, I like to buy these sugar pumpkins, I believe they're marketed as. I like to buy 2 at a time. I just keep them on my table for the duration of the season. And I do like to, prepare the seeds later for them to be salted and snacked on. But the pumpkin itself, I cook like a squash. So it's just peeled, chunked up, and with the apples, it becomes really flavorful, very sweet. And it's really the season for this. You can't enjoy it as much in any other season. When you're thinking about apples to use for something like this, go with any apple that you have. I know that there's a lot of conflicting opinions out there. Granny Smith, don't use Macintosh, try yellow. To be honest, I don't even know what kind of apple I'm using. I picked it from the big bin that we have from apple picking. And part of cooking is just allowing these varieties, these differences to happen. You can't be perfect. And I think if we strive for perfection in all that we do, especially in the things that are supposed to be simple, it takes away the happiness from it. It takes away the simplicity from it. It actually creates another layer of stress. And who needs more stress than we already have right now, right? I am using a few of these potatoes to bulk it up. I always buy a 5 or 10 pound bag of potatoes whenever I go shopping, just to keep in the bin, because you never know when you need to just add something to even it out or to provide some weight. A lot of these vegetable-based dishes that I like to make, they are very light, but that doesn't mean that you can't get away from filling your tummy. You need to. We're not a starving people here. We do eat very healthily, but we do enjoy our food, and we like to leave the table with a happy stomach, and a happy stomach means a full stomach. So we do a lot of chicken here. It's our main source of protein. It's something that we have multiple times a week. We do a lot of chicken thighs, but they can be very expensive. So when I get chicken drumsticks for the week or even for the month, I work through that batch. A lot of the times it's put in the air fryer, especially to get that crispier skin. If it is in the oven, I do like to make it by itself. Without putting it on top of any other vegetables. It just allows it to, again, become much more crispy. But for this, I'm just echoing the same seasonings with the maple syrup and the garlic and the salt and pepper that we did on the vegetables with the chicken as well. And while that's in the air fryer, it's just a matter of getting these vegetables nice and browned and also moving so that there's even cooking all around. So I can't recommend enough cooking with cranberries, more so than just making cranberry sauce. I think a lot of us are left with these bags of cranberries from our Thanksgiving shopping. We don't know what to do with them. And add them to your roasted vegetable sheet pan. It adds another layer of tanginess. They burst ever so slightly. Cooking with fruit is another way of just elevating your food in a very simple way without having to do a lot of prep. So echoing back what I began this video with that idea of finding the potential in the small things that we do. It's so important to know that skills that you have, as simple as they are, as domestic as they are actually skills that can be taught generations over generations, and things that actually you get a real tangible outcome from. I mean, who doesn't enjoy a nice loaf of bread, a few handmade bagels, fresh pancakes, croissants, pastries, cookies, anything that has traditionally been served and shared as a symbol of comfort or as love. This you can do too. And the potential for happiness here is so large. It's not hard work if you don't see it as hard work. It's something you learn. And again, how many times do we want to learn something just for the sake of it? It doesn't become work. It becomes a part of your identity. And as much as all of us have so many identities in the world, we move every day in these different roles, whether for us as working women, let's say you are one type of person during the day, at work, at home, another type of person, with your husband, another type of person, with yourself, a whole different kind of person. And what brings it all together is how you marry all of those identities together and create a loving space for yourself and for those that you love around you. There's a sense of beauty when it comes to knowing what truly brings happiness to your life. It's something you can settle into. Nothing can really take that away from you. It actually allows you to make a lot of decisions easier for yourself. You can be more confident in how you carry yourself through life. You can be more calm and collected in your beliefs and the decisions you have to make on a daily basis. And it allows you to communicate the kind of love and care you want to communicate in a way that is authentic and genuine and from the heart. So there's very little that I wouldn't do to ensure that the home that I am trying to raise is as comfortable as possible. And part of what allows that to happen are these regular routines. Twice a month at the minimum, there's fresh bread being baked. I do this overnight bulk rising, which you saw before, and early in the morning. Yes, on a weekend morning, I do get up and make sure that these items are made and they're fresh. And what a way to wake up your family members with the smell of fresh bagels and a fresh loaf of bread in the oven. A lot of these things don't take as much time as you think. It is just a matter of getting used to the routine and finding a really good recipe. I do like the Clever Carrot website as well as the Feast at Home website for a lot of these sourdough recipes. I suggest you check them out. And if you haven't tried making your own bagels because it seems daunting, let me tell you, I'm a very simple person and bagels are really simple to make. I suggest you try your hand at it, and I don't think you'll ever go back. if I were to share just probably the biggest important tip for any home baker who's trying to do the most and getting some fresh baked goods underneath your belt, the biggest tip I could give you is knowing the kind of timing that you need, but also knowing that sourdough could be popped in the fridge for later whenever you need it. You know, we can't just be tied to the kitchen all the time, especially when you have kids or if you have other things to do or you have errands. Please know that sourdough, once risen, can actually be put in the fridge and it'll slow down the proofing process. You could always come back to it later. I often do this with a loaf of bread. I put it in the proofing basket, pop it in the fridge, and then later on that afternoon, I bake it. For the bagels, they are very quick to make because, you know, again, they don't really require a lot of rising the day after. So those are the ones that I do make in the morning for either that breakfast or, like I like to do, to prep that as breakfast for myself for the rest of the week. So I'll leave this beautiful loaf of bread here with you for the end of this video. I wish you a beautiful week. Stay safe and God bless. See you next time.